The air in our dining room is thick with the scent of roasted chicken and a lie so profound I can barely swallow it. It's my mother's 70th birthday. The whole family is here, aunts, uncles, cousins, all crammed around the extended table, their laughter echoing off the vaulted ceilings Mark was so proud of. Mark, my husband, the celebrated CEO of Next-Gen Technologies, holds court at the head of the table, telling a charming, self-deprecating story about a board meeting gone wrong. He's in his element, the magnanimous host, the successful son-in-law. My eyes are locked on my daughter, Chloe. 14 years old, sitting perfectly still between my bubbly cousin and Mark's boisterous brother. She's pushing peas around her plate with her fork, her shoulders hunched so tightly they nearly touch her ears. She hasn't looked up once. And then I said, Mark continues, chuckling, if the projections don't improve, we'll have to start serving the coffee with tears. The table erupts in laughter. He glances at Chloe, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Lighten up, kiddo. It's a party. All eyes turn to her. She flinches as if struck. My mother, beaming, pats Mark's arm. Oh, leave her be, Mark. She's a teenager. They're all a little dramatic, aren't they, Sarah? I force a smile. Sarah Miller. 38 years old. Former IT security analyst, now a freelance web designer. I gave up my demanding career to build a stable home for Chloe after her father, my first husband, passed away. I thought Mark was that stability. Chloe mumbles an apology and stands up, her chair scraping loudly. May I please be excused? I don't feel well. Before I can answer, Mark is on his feet, his voice dripping with faux concern. Ah, sweetheart, of course. Let me walk you upstairs. He moves toward her, placing a hand on the small of her back. It's a gesture that should look paternal. But I see the way her entire body goes rigid. I see the barely perceptible shift away from his touch. I see the silent plea in her eyes as she looks at me. And I do nothing. Go lie down, honey, I say, my voice sounding impossibly calm, a tranquil lake hiding a tsunami beneath. You probably just ate too fast. The look she gives me then is one of pure, unadulterated betrayal. The last flicker of hope in her eyes extinguishes, and she flees the room. Mark sits back down, shrugging at our guests as if to say, what can you do? The conversation resumes, but I am frozen. Inside, I am screaming. Inside, I am holding my daughter and begging for forgiveness. But on the outside, I am calm. I am complicit. Because the performance must go on. The trap is set, and the predator must believe he is safe. The betrayal began 3 weeks ago, with a whisper. It was late. I was working at my desk when Chloe appeared in the doorway, hugging her worn-out teddy bear, a relic from her early childhood she hadn't slept with in years. Mom, her voice was small. Can I talk to you? Of course, baby. Always. She climbed into the armchair opposite me, pulling her knees to her chest. It's Mark. My blood went cold. What about him? He makes me uncomfortable. She wouldn't meet my eyes. The way he looks at me sometimes. And he's always finding reasons to touch me. A hug that lasts too long. A hand on my shoulder that slides down my back. He accidentally walked in on me changing last week. He said he was looking for a towel, but he didn't even look at the linen closet. The room tilted. Mark. The man who had swept into our lives 2 years after I became a widow, a charismatic, powerful presence who promised to take care of us. The man who paid off my mortgage, who charmed my family, whose reputation was spotless. He's just being affectionate, Chloe, I said, my mind racing. He's trying to be a father figure. No, it's not that, she insisted, her voice trembling. It feels wrong. I don't like being alone with him. And then came the true betrayal. Not from Mark, yet, but from the people around us. When I cautiously brought it up with my mother, she waved it away. "Oh, Sarah, you're being overprotective. Mark adores that girl. He's just not used to teenagers." When I mentioned it to my brother, he laughed. "Seriously? Mark? The guy's a saint. Chloe's probably just jealous of the attention he gives you." They had all been blinded by his money, his status, his carefully constructed facade. I knew, with a sickening certainty, that if I went to war with only my daughter's word against his, we would lose. He would gaslight her, my family would side with him, and Chloe would be destroyed, believing no one was ever on her side. He had exploited the trust of everyone I loved to build himself an impenetrable fortress. The moment Chloe's bedroom door closed that night, I made a choice. I would become the enemy she needed me to be. I would become his greatest ally, so he would never see the blade coming. The next morning, I went to her. It was the hardest performance of my life. "Honey, I thought about what you said," I began, sitting on the edge of her bed. "And I think you might be misreading Mark's intentions. He loves us. He would never do anything to hurt you. Maybe you're still adjusting to having a man in the house again." The devastation on her face was a physical wound. "You don't believe me?" "I believe that you feel uncomfortable," I said, the words like acid on my tongue. "But I think your feelings are misleading you. Let's just try to be a family, okay?" She turned away from me, and the wall went up. I had sacrificed my daughter's trust. It was a down payment on justice. My old career in IT security came roaring back. I became a ghost in my own home. While Mark was at work and Chloe was at school, I worked. I ordered tiny, high-resolution pinhole cameras and audio receivers from different suppliers using a secure, anonymous VPN. I hid them in the living room, the hallway outside her bedroom, and, with a prayer for forgiveness, in the air vent of her bedroom, angled to cover the door and her bed. I installed keystroke logging software on our home computer and a hidden partition on my laptop to store the evidence, encrypted and password protected with a military-grade algorithm I hadn't used in years. I became a master of deception. I encouraged Mark to spend more time with Chloe, suggesting he help her with her homework or watch a movie together. "She just needs to get to know you better," I'd tell him, smiling. Every time I suggested it, I died a little inside, watching the flicker of unease in Chloe's eyes. For 2 weeks, the footage was mostly mundane. Then, I saw it. He came up behind her while she was washing dishes, his hands on her hips, his body pressing against hers for a moment too long. She froze, her knuckles white on the counter. Another time, on the couch, he playfully tugged at the strap of her tank top, his finger tracing a line on her shoulder. She flinched and pulled away. The evidence was there, but it was circumstantial. The kind of thing he could explain away as horseplay. I needed a smoking gun. It came last Tuesday. I was reviewing the audio from the hallway camera. Chloe was in her room, and Mark went in, saying he was returning a book. The door was slightly ajar. His voice, low and intimate, "You're looking so grown up lately, Chloe. So beautiful." Her voice, tight, "I have homework." His, "You know, if you ever need anything, money, advice about boys, you can come to me. We can have our own little secrets. Your mom doesn't need to know everything." There it was. The grooming, the testing of boundaries, the creation of a secret alliance. It was enough for me. But for the world? I needed more. The final piece fell into place yesterday. The keystroke logger revealed a folder on Mark's laptop, hidden within a system file, named Projections. Inside, I found it. Not photos, not yet, he was too smart for that. But a list of files. Chat logs he'd saved from a secure messaging app, conversations with an anonymous username where he detailed his attraction to his stepdaughter and his plan to slowly break down her inhibitions. He was documenting his conquest, his power trip. I had everything. The visual evidence of the inappropriate touches, the audio of the grooming, and his own digital confession. This morning, while Mark was in the shower, I made my move. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't raise my voice. I simply went to my laptop, connected to the secure, anonymous email service I'd set up, and attached 3 encrypted files. The first was a compilation of the most damning video and audio clips. The second was a PDF of his chat logs. The third was a detailed timeline I had constructed. I addressed the first email to Detective Maria Rodriguez at the local police department's Special Victims Unit. The second, I addressed to the entire NextGen Technologies corporate board of directors, including the subject line, urgent, concerning CEO Mark's conduct and criminal investigation. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I could hear the shower running upstairs. I thought of Chloe's broken face at the dinner table. I clicked send. The envelope was no longer a metaphor. It was a digital missile, and it was already streaking toward its target. The power in the house had just irrevocably shifted, and he was upstairs, singing, utterly oblivious. Confrontation scene. He came down for breakfast, whistling, dressed in his $3,000 suit. Big day today, honey. Quarterly board meeting. Gonna knock it out of the park. I stood by the kitchen island, holding my coffee mug. I'm sure you are. Chloe came down, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She didn't look at either of us. Whoa, where's the fire, kiddo? Mark said, moving to block her path to the door. No hug for your old dad? She tried to sidestep him, but he put his hands on her shoulders. She froze, her eyes darting to me in a silent scream. I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Take your hands off my daughter. He turned, a confused smile on his face. What's gotten into you? I know, I said. I know about the little secrets you wanted to have with her. I know about the way you look at her. I know about the chats you saved in the projections folder. The color drained from his face. The confusion turned to anger. What are you talking about? What have you been doing? Snooping on my computer? You're paranoid, Sarah. You're turning her against me. He pointed a shaking finger at Chloe. She's a confused kid, and you're feeding into her delusions. I didn't move. The police have the files by now. So does your board. His anger shattered into manipulation. He took a step toward me, his voice dropping to a wheedling tone. Sarah, honey, no. Wait. This is a misunderstanding. You can't do this. You'll ruin me. Think of our life. The house, the cars, our reputation. Please, just let's talk about this. We can get family therapy. I'll do anything. It's too late for talking, I said. Then came the begging. His shoulders slumped, and his voice became a broken whisper. Please, Sarah. I'm begging you. Call them. Tell them it was a mistake. You'll destroy everything I've worked for. I'll lose my job. I'll go to jail. I looked him dead in the eye, my gaze as cold as the evidence I'd collected. You should have thought of that before you laid a hand on my child. This wasn't a mistake. It was a calculation. You calculated that my daughter's word was worthless against yours. You calculated wrong. Your downfall was inevitable the moment I pressed record. The doorbell rang. I walked to the door and opened it. 2 police officers stood there, Detective Rodriguez behind them, her face grim. Mark Evans, the lead officer said. We'd like you to come down to the station to answer some questions. Mark looked from them, to me, to Chloe, who was now standing straight, a look of dawning comprehension on her face. He realized in that moment that he hadn't been the hunter. He had been the prey all along. And the trap had just snapped shut. The fallout was swift and absolute. I took Chloe to a hotel that night. I sat her down on the bed and held both her hands. "Chloe," I said, my voice finally cracking with the emotion I'd held back for weeks. "I need you to listen to me. Every single word I said to you, every time I told you you were wrong about Mark, it was a lie." Tears welled in her eyes. "What? I believed you the second you told me. I always believed you. But I knew no one else would. I knew he was too powerful. So I had to make him feel safe. I had to make him think he had one. I had to make him believe I was on his side so he would keep going, so I could get the proof that would make sure he could never, ever hurt you or anyone else again. I am so sorry I had to hurt you to protect you. Can you ever forgive me?" She didn't say anything. She just launched herself into my arms, sobbing, great, heaving sobs of relief and release. The wall between us crumbled to dust. My mother called, hysterical. "The police were here. They said Mark's been arrested. What is happening?" When I told her, the silence on the other end was profound. Then, a broken whisper, "My God." And I didn't believe her. I didn't believe either of you. The family, once his staunchest defenders, became our fiercest protectors. Their shame fueled their loyalty. Mark, from his jail cell, tried to justify his actions through his lawyer. It was misplaced affection. He's being taken out of context. The wife is vengeful and unstable. Every word he uttered just dug his grave deeper. Mark's collapse was total and brutally public. He was fired from NextGen before the sun set that first day. The board, fearing a shareholder revolt and public relations nightmare, issued a statement condemning his abhorrent and criminal behavior and severed all ties. His stock options were voided. His professional reputation was not just ruined, it was used as a cautionary tale. The criminal case was a slam dunk. With the audio, video, and his own digital confession, he had no defense. He took a plea bargain to avoid a trial that would have put Chloe on the stand, the one shred of decency he was forced to exhibit. He was sentenced to 12 years in a state prison, and upon his release, he will be a registered sex offender for life. The story, while protecting Chloe's identity, leaked to the press. NextGen CEO brought down by hidden camera sting. His face was on the news. His country club membership was revoked. His friends, his entire social circle, evaporated. He became a ghost, a monster in a suit, stripped of everything that ever defined him. We sold the dream home and used the money to buy a smaller, brighter house just for us, with a big garden for Chloe to paint in. The first thing we did was install a top-of-the-line security system. The second thing we did was get a puppy. I went back to work full-time in cybersecurity, my skills sharper than ever. My company, Shield Maiden Security, specializing in protecting women and children from digital predators, is thriving. I am respected, not as someone's wife, but as an expert in my field. Chloe is in therapy, healing. The light has returned to her eyes. She knows, without a doubt, that her mother will move heaven and earth for her. The poetic justice is absolute, the very technology Mark always bragged about understanding, the cameras, the data, was the weapon I used to destroy him. His own arrogance in documenting his crimes became the final nail in his coffin. A mother's love is a patient, powerful, and sometimes terrifying force. It can look like kindness, it can sound like disbelief, all while it's quietly, methodically building a prison for the monster in your home. Betrayal burns everything down, but from the ashes, you can build a fortress of resilience so strong that nothing can ever breach it again. As for Mark, he sits in a cell, a number in a system, his every move watched and controlled. He wanted to be the one in power, the one with the gaze. Now, he lives his life under the unblinking eye of the state. I'd say that's a form of karma he understands all too well. If this story of a mother's ultimate sacrifice for her child resonated with you, if you felt that surge of relief when the police arrived, then do me a favor, Comment below with the word justice and subscribe to the channel for more stories where the protectors win.